and welcome to the latest episode of From the Rubble, where I try to find and gather the broken pieces of civilization and possibly put them back together while desperately trying to avoid being zombie chow. It's it's different from the many of the Minecraft playthroughs I've done, and I'm really enjoying it. But at the moment, you know, this series started quite a bit later than New Londinium or Gryphonhorse, so we are much further behind in our progress, and it's compounded by the fact that besides the fact that the game started with me almost drowning, I'm on a little island, and that's by choice. I mean that it's a limiting factor, but it's a voluntary limiting factor because it's easier to defend. And my efforts up to this point have been to stay alive, but to expand that tiny little island into something larger from which I could, actually do some farming and gather resources and such and such. But that's where we're at now. As you can see, the island has grown quite a bit from where we started, and that's still the goal now, right? I told you last time that I had a specific size of island I'm looking for, and I'm working toward that goal. At the moment I'm gardening, but at the moment we're still surrounded by some deep water on one side of the island, and I'm filling that in before I cover it with topsoil. And as I've discussed in previous episodes, this is Minecraft, so I don't have to fill in that space. I could put a layer of dirt or a layer of stone or whatever on top of water. Not a problem. But the eventual goal is that we will be building a base in this space. And so if I just cover the water, eventually I'm going to have to deal with that water anyway, because that's all space that I'll be living in. And so I might as well just take care of it now. It makes things a whole lot easier to work in later when I start building in that space. But there's a lot of stuff that has to happen before we get there. And since we will be building primarily from light gray concrete, the ability to create cobblestone and grind it up into gravel and sand is probably the single biggest piece of the puzzle that I need to fix before I can get there. So, and to get that to work, I'm going to need power, and to get the power, I'm going to need some space, and to get some space, well, that's what I'm doing now, right? I have plenty of dirt, but dirt is a kind of a commodity in this world, so I'm using it only as a layer of topsoil, not for filler, which is weird because in a lot of other game worlds I've played in, dirt is either a throwaway block or it's a useful filler block. But here, I need to save that dirt for the top layer. This is a much more hostile world than I normally play in Minecraft. I would argue it's even more hostile than my Gryphonhorse game, which has fire-breathing and lightning-breathing dragons in it. Because in that game, the dragons are incredibly powerful, and I still have my doubts on being able to face them, even with Ars Nouveau. I set that game up so that they don't spawn anywhere within 10 kilometers of the spawn point, my spawn point. So while they are incredibly dangerous and apparently prolific, there's no fear of them reaching me while I get established. And in fact, I kind of have to go to them when I'm ready. So it's dangerous but deliberate, right? Here, oh boy, haven't seen that in a while. Here, the danger is immediate and all around me, right? I put in the mods that kind of amp up the bad guys, and the bad guys are potentially anywhere. So I have to keep my area well lit, and I can't keep the whole region well lit. So that's why I'm trying to, that's why I built on an island, and that's why I'm trying to wall off that island. And we're getting there. And a key bit of our efforts in the near future will be to start clearing the cityscape, right? And I know for a fact that the cityscape is full, chock-a-block full of spawners. Every time I get near a building, to harvest some resources nearby, I can, within a couple minutes, I start hearing tons and tons, and I mean literally tons of zombies or skeletons moving around in there. So that will bring its own set of challenges, which, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I'm enjoying all my series. I enjoy all of them. That's why I started all of them. But I think the soft spot in my heart is for New Londinium, because I've always been I've never considered myself a steampunk person, but long before there was a steampunk genre, at least in the public mind, I adored that time period and that vibe. And I've always been a post-apocalyptic nut, and this is definitely post-apocalyptic. So, these are pretty fun. I recently finished the first of the new villager professions for this world from the Rubble, and that is the chemist profession. Now, I had already added the alchemist profession to New Londinium and Greifenhorst, and as you might suspect, the alchemist is a purveyor of potions and potion materials and stuff like that. So the chemist is simply from the Rubble version, and it's a chemist because while there is definitely magic in this world is built upon the remnants of civilization, a technological civilization. So things have more of a technology spin on them here than the magical spin. But there's heaping teaspoon of both, so I guess I could have gone either way. And I'm lagging right now. I mean, you saw the warning message. Yep, that Distant Horizons has got a mouthful it can't swallow. So, but as I've noted in the other series, this will slowly calm down. What we're dealing with is still the backlog that has accumulated over the past few months while I was playing with Distant Horizons. Settings turned very low, and with an older version of Distant Horizons, which didn't really optimize things super well. But the things that were preventing me from upgrading eventually got resolved, and now we're fully upgraded, and now it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And as we've seen in the other playthroughs, the longer I'm running around doing what I'm doing, the more chance it has to catch up and earn a chance to take a break. So we're still getting there. Tried to learn my lesson here. I can't tell you how many times I've fallen off of this thing. I guess I probably can tell you. I can go back and look at the old episodes and count. Nope, almost fell there. Now, another thing that, everything I just told you is absolutely true and kind of my top priority, but this is a world with technology, and I think I'm kind of getting to the point where I've gathered enough materials that I might be able to actually start using some technology. Yeah, I need a windmill and stuff like that for the big pieces, and I'm not ready for that. But I think I have enough stuff for some of these little machines. And in the thermal series, they have, I don't remember what the proper term for them is, maybe devices or something. But these are machines or apparatus that you can set up that they don't require power. They still work, right? Now there's two of them that I'm kind of hot after. One is I don't remember the name of it, but basically it allows it's their version of a cobblestone generator, and it doesn't require power. So you just put that baby on run, and you're swimming in cobblestone, and that would be fabulous. Another one that I'm after is called I don't remember. But it's basically a machine that catches fish, right? An entangler, aquatic entangler. There we go. So it's a machine that catches fish, and you can control the fish you catch to some degree by putting in certain types of materials as bait. Or you can just, put it in and let it rip, and it's kind of like what you would get if you were just randomly fishing. I would love to have that, because at the moment I really don't have. I do have some cows that are locked away in an abandoned building. I didn't lock them away there. That's just where they started, but I'm taking full advantage of that. But it's a little inconvenient and not much room in there. And I've got, I haven't got any sheep or ducks, so I really don't have any way to farm proteins, and an aquatic entangler would give me that, right? I can get proteins for free. Using the Farmer's Delight mod, I could fillet those bad boys and cook them up, or cook them up then fillet them. Actually, it's more energy efficient. And then with that, assuming that I can find some cabbage, I could then make fish sandwiches, and that would take care of my food needs even better than the stack of baked potatoes I'm running around with. So, lag. So, that would be a nice step forward as well. Yep. And of course, any minerals or metal ores I can find while collecting material to fill my moat would be greatly appreciated. Now, the thermal series really goes to town when it comes to material additions, right? So there are a number, and I see quite a few ores that it adds to the game, and in fact I completely lost track of all of them. I mean, the more common ones include things like a nickel, right? And even then, nickel's kind of hard to find. But and the thing with the thermal series is you can find the ores and you can smelt them up, and then there are ways you can make alloys and such from ingots. That exists, but it includes materials or machines I don't have, right? So, and I'm not likely to have for a while. So, for me, it's a lot easier and efficient to take the ores and grind them up into powder, then combine the powders and smelt the combined powders to make alloys. That is the way to go, but that means I have to not go crazy with my smelting up front. I mean, in normal Minecraft, you don't have this problem. Even most of the normal modded Minecraft, you don't have this problem. You get your ore, and at some point you dump it into a furnace and you smelt it up, and then it's ready to be used, right? And if you make alloys, a lot of times making alloys is as simple as throwing both of them on a crafting table or in a certain device. But thermal series complicates things a little bit, and so I had to adjust my behavior accordingly. Now, another thing thermal series really goes to town on is the addition of foods, farmable foods. There are quite a few, and some of them overlap the other mods I have, like Farmer's Delight and the Let's Do series, and at some point I'll need to go through and do some work on the tags to get everything to line up correctly. But that also takes time, so we'll get there. But it is a surprisingly diverse mix, and I've been collecting those seeds simply because you find them by breaking grass blocks. And the type of terraforming I've been doing, I've been breaking a lot of grass blocks. So I have a number of different thermal seeds that we can use to start a number of different thermal crops, and we'll do that. Though I think it was last episode I was expanding my fields, and I was trying to figure out what crops to grow, because I got some land now, right? I've filled in some space, and when I was looking at the recipes, while they give me a wide variety of new crops, they don't really give me a wide variety of things to do with those crops, which is, kind of circles back to that whole tag discussion. I want to tag these materials so that they're usable in the same recipes that their Farmer's Delight and Let's Do equivalents are already. Bad guys have come out to play, so I think it's time to beat a strategic retreat back to my little island, like so. So, yeah, they don't give you a lot of recipes. So now, recently I heard about a game called Vintage Story. I think it's called Vintage Story. What was that noise? Okay. Anyway, I had never heard of this game. In fact, the way I found out about it was another YouTube creator had posted a few episodes of their playthrough, and so I started to become interested after watching that. But when I was looking at the website for the game, I was floored because they said, in the vanilla game, there's something like 380,000 different recipes. Now, I don't know the details around that, but that just floored me. If it is what it is, that's pretty amazing. And I look forward to checking that out. So, if you know anything about that game, by all means, share, say something in the comments and let us know. Share the knowledge. Tell the rest of the class. I would love to hear any thoughts you have on that. I especially would love to hear from folks who've actually played the game. So it's survival based, right? I in reading it, I kind of get the terra firma craft type vibes, right? And in fact, that's kind of where the game started, right? It started as a mod for Minecraft, and then at some point they quit working on the mod, and they just turned around and rebuilt the game from scratch. So it's no longer Minecraft based, though ironically the version numbers look very much like they're Minecraft based, which kind of threw me for a loop. And then if you look at the game itself, it looks very much like Minecraft, so much so that when I was first looking at it, I was pretty sure that it was just another detailed Minecraft mod, but no, it's not. It's its own game. It's got its own mods, and so it's interesting. And it too apparently is a post-apocalyptic setting. So, though it's post-apocalyptic, but you start the game essentially in the Stone Age. So there's a lot less of civilization to put back together. You're more like starting from scratch. I'm okay with that too. So, and there's a lot of interesting games coming out. And well, I'm always looking forward to new games. The problem is there's just not enough hours in the day. But I recently posted in the post tab that there's another game out there, or will be out there, called Cubic Odyssey. And as I pointed out in the post, it's like No Man's Sky and Minecraft have a love child, and I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, back in the day, I played me a mess of No Man's Sky. I mean, it scratched a lot of different itches, and quite frankly, I probably would still be playing it today, except they have a weak construction or building model, right? And what's weak about it, I mean, they've actually got a lot of great pieces and concepts in place. The problem is that there are some pretty rigid build limits, and when you're talking about, I mean, those build limits are really strict and constricting, especially for a builder. And those limits would be rigid and constricting in Minecraft, right? But we're not talking about Minecraft. We're talking about a universe. Actually, we're talking about 256 galaxies. And out of 256 galaxies, each of them has, 4.8 or whatever quintillion planets. Right? Or is it star systems? Either way, it's more than a handful, right? And those planets are big. And I mean, they're not Minecraft big individually, but they are certainly big enough to make those build limits seem arbitrary and painful. I mean, I couldn't even build, there's a number of resources in the game, and I couldn't even build enough resource bases for all the resources, right? I just ran out of parts. And that's even after I pared down what I would do, right? Because, me being me, when I normally build a base, I'd build like a motor pool, and there'd be a habitation section where you'd have a kitchen and living quarters, and you do all that stuff, and you put lights everywhere and signs, and make it look like somebody actually lives and works there. And towards the end, each one of those things, each light bulb, each piece of wire, that's a piece of the base, and you're limited by number of pieces. So eventually I would pare down bit by bit the various aspects of the base until eventually I got down to the point where each of the bases was strictly for resources, and I had the bare minimum pieces to mine those resources, right? There's no living quarters, there's no atmospheric type bits in there that make a base look cool. I mean, it's strictly, I'm min-maxing my base pieces to make sure I can get the resources I need, and even then I don't have enough. So that's when I said, everything else is so immersive, so expansive, and in that one thing they kill me. And to be honest, I understand, right, where that's coming from, because these guys are running a game which at some point had millions of active players, running around in quintillions of worlds, right? All building and doing stuff. And if you allowed unlimited building on that type of scale, I mean, their servers might just like keel over and die. I get that, right? But it's just unfortunate. I mean, you could essentially play No Man's Sky in an offline mode, and in that case, you're not using their servers, right? It's just your machine. So then I would think they could like say, well, if you're playing in an offline mode in your own standalone world, we can lift those build limits. But no, they don't. It's the same engine either way. So yeah, I know, it sounds like sour grapes. I mean, I really did enjoy my time in the game. I mean, again, like I said, it scratched a lot of itches, some of which I can't get out of Minecraft hardly, right? Minecraft vehicles are few and far between, and and there are some good vehicle mods, and I've tried to pick some in the worlds I'm using. So of course I'm not really at that stage yet in any of the worlds I'm playing at the moment, so that itch remains unscratched, but hopefully we'll get it itched or scratched. So and just a comment on that one, so in this world and in New Londinium, I did a last minute mod addition to immersive machines or immersive machinery. I'm not sure, one of the two. And first of all, if you're familiar with immersive aircraft, right, I will say, hands down, that's one of the best aircraft mods for Minecraft. That is the best aircraft mod for Minecraft. I love it, and I did a video on it. It's so you should check that out. But the same author is, he created Man of Many Planes, which is an add-on for immersive aircraft, and I absolutely love that too, though that one is more applicable to New Londinium than anything else. But he had, or she, or they, I don't know what they identify as, but they came out with a recent new mod called Immersive Machinery, and there's some bits in there that I find interesting. There's a Roomba type of robot that you can let loose, and it'll do your farming for you. That's interesting. I'm not interested, but it's interesting. Then another one that they added is you could take the gyrocopter, which is it looks like a drone, right? It looks like a quadricopter. But now you can automate it, and it can run around and interact with inventory, so you can use it to automatically move stuff from one inventory to another, and that's useful to me. It seems like a big lag fest waiting to happen if you try to use it at scale, but and I'm not going to really experiment to find that out, simply because I have some other solutions that will make that unnecessary. But I do find that interesting. But the two most interesting bits of that mod is, one, they've created a digging machine, a mining machine. It looks kind of like a bulldozer with a big drill bit on the front, and you can use that to mine tunnels. And when you mine, you're collecting all that material. So it truly is what you would think it would be, and that could be very useful. Certainly very interesting. But the one I'm most excited about is it comes with a little submarine. Now, it's a little submarine. It's big enough to put you in it. So I think in game terms, it's like a 2 blocks by 2 blocks by 2 block cube. But I was playing around with it, and it's cool. It is really cool. So that's why I added it here. And I'm looking forward to it. In fact, that would be, in a previous episode, I looked at the deep water off the shore of this island. And that deep water is really, really deep. And at this point, of course, I don't have any water breathing or anything. So having access to a sub like that right now would be of value to me. Unfortunately, that's kind of like, the other stuff that I'm having problems with. It requires materials and technology I don't yet have access to. So I got to work my way up to it. And by then, it might be too late, right? I might not need to go check out the deep water. But now I'm harvesting flax, and this flax is from the supplementaries mod. And a minute ago, I harvested the flax from the thermal series. So having two different flaxes isn't necessarily optimal, but they're there. I'll make the best use of them. And this is important because, like I said, I'm going to need power, and my most likely source of power up front will be a windmill. So windmills require wool. I do have one sheep trapped with my cows in that little room, and one sheep is not much of a farm. But with the flax, I'm able to produce thread. With thread, I'm able to produce wool, and I need 128 wool for a full-powered windmill. So we're on our way. And it's possible I might even build 2 windmills, but that's risky. Way back in my Griffin Manor days, that was essentially version 2 of me trying to make some comprehensive world using the crate mod. And I made a windmill farm. I used the create or extraction mod, and in that world I was incredibly lucky where I had 3 chunks all next to each other that produced iron. And so I wanted to create an iron mine and pull iron out of all 3 of those. And I did that. I created machines for it. But that's a lot of power required to get all that running. And so I essentially required a full-size windmill for each of the machines. And then I built a 4th windmill for the ancillary power for the other stuff I was doing there. So like an elevator and such. And I built those 4 windmills. And if I don't say so myself, those windmills were great. They looked great. The problem is they basically dragged my system down to the point where anytime I even faced that direction, even if there was a hill blocking the actual line of sight to the windmills, my game became a PowerPoint slideshow. And, you know, eventually in that world, I decided, okay, what I would do is I created a recipe for the creative motor, which you can normally only get in creative mode. And I built one of those and threw it in there, and then eliminated 3 of the 4 windmills. So I had the power I needed, but I had a windmill that kind of was like essentially a prop, so that it would look like I had a source of power there and make everything make sense. But it's one of those things where, you know, the way I like to play the game, that kind of flew in the face of it, right? And it made me feel dirty, right? It's like it was cheating, I mean, but it wasn't cheating, right? I mean, I was limited by the game, so it was more of a workaround, but in the back of my mind, it still felt like cheating. Now, that was a while ago, and I've hit more limitations in various aspects since then, so I don't think that type of thing would bug me as much now as it did then. And I'm sure I will run into more situations like that at some point here in the future, maybe the near future. It's just the joy of modded Minecraft, right? Sometimes the things that these guys come up with are ahead of their time in terms of hardware and performance, so I certainly think that's the case with the Create guys. Now, to be fair, I hope that we won't have that problem in this world for 2 reasons. One, I have since found a mod called the Iris Flywheel Compat, and basically I use Oculus, which is a fork of Iris, and what this does is when you run with shaders, the flywheel mod, which is now built into Create and is meant to optimize all those contraptions and such so that they don't bring your system down to that slideshow level, it doesn't run when you run shaders, right? That's the default behavior. It turns itself off, and there's no way to turn it back on. So somebody made a mod that essentially turns it back on when you have shaders, and that's what I have. And so I haven't put that to a stress test yet, but I'm expecting that with that change alone, my system shouldn't be brought to its knees by a few windmills. But that's completely unproven. That's conjecture on my part. The other thing is that since then, I have upgraded my system, my computer system. Now, it's not absolute bleeding cutting edge. I tried to find the best value. Oh, I hate that. I hate that too. We gotta wait until the hunger catches up. Okay. Anyway, my machine is not super state-of-the-art, cutting-edge Mondo killer, but I tried to find the sweet spot between price and performance, and I think I found a pretty good one. It's certainly a lot more powerful than what I had before. So I think that might help a lot. So between those two things, I don't think I'll try to go too crazy, but I think the scenario I was talking about last time would have been okay in this world, right? But we'll wait and see. I mean, you can see I'm still getting warnings from Distant Horizons saying, "Hey, man, cool it." So while I may have found solutions that ease my performance concerns from the old days, I've also opened up all new performance issues in this world. So we'll see. And you know that I don't know if I talked about it in any of my series, but when I first got the new machine, I was running around and I was running with the Embedium has a performance meter that you show the metrics, your frame rate up on screen. And I was running around for a little bit with that running. And, you know, before I got the machine upgrade, I'm running these worlds. And, the early versions of these worlds, I was still prototyping these things. And I was getting 30 to 45 frames per second. And when I got the new machine, I was running 300 to 400 frames per second. Nothing else changed, right? Now, I'm not running 300 or 400 frames per second anymore because once I had that type of performance, you know, the human eye can only see, I think, 33 frames per second, right? After that, you start to see the jittery. So, I don't need 400 frames per second. If I can knock it down, say, to like, 90 or 100, that would still be plenty. And so that's, I was still developing the mod packs for these worlds. And so I kind of went shopping. And I was able to find some stuff and slowly add on to it while keeping an eye on the frame rate. And eventually I got to a point where I had what I feel is a very good and comprehensive mix of stuff for all three of my worlds. And at the same time, I still have pretty good performance. So, but I was always worried because, if I had kept that 400 frames per second buffer, I'm wondering if I could have really gone to town with like Create and, used all those, all that performance for that. Maybe. What I'd really like to do is I like to play computer games with a computer as powerful as the one in, Star Trek The Next Generation, but yet still be, my Windows-based gaming rig from today. I mean, this is the dance that video game and computer game players have been dancing since the beginning of time, right? It's far easier to write or even dream up ways to use your hardware to max it out than it is to make hardware that exceeds any of the software that's out there, right? And both sides are doing their best to add more and more, which is, of course, what you see, right? I mean, when I started playing computer games, 8-bit graphics, well, when I started playing computer games, we started with monochrome graphics knocking a little ball back and forth across the screen, right? So, yeah, and that for you young folks, that was Pong. So we've come a long way. You know, you look at games like Assassin's Creed or something, and I mean, now you're at the point where if you have a 4K display, you can zoom in and count the number of eyelashes. I don't know if that's necessary or particularly useful, but I mean, that's kind of where we're at now. And I'm sure we'll get more. Well, we'll just get more of everything in the future, right? That's how it goes. But I just hope, you know, they give us the stuff that's actually useful. Speaking of that, in the old days, they would make, you know, a lot of games are single player, right? Because multiple player was hard to do. You either had to take turns at the same computer, or when they did start to have early networking play, you usually had to be in the same local area network, and then early internet play was tough, you know, but it was available. But in all those cases, right, there was a lot of limitations, and but going back to but you know, with human opponents can be clever and you know, think in different ways. But before we had good multiple player, we had to have good single player. But we had weak computers, and so designers took a lot of shortcuts to try to give you that challenging gameplay without having the hardware or AI to really give you fair challenging gameplay. And the example I always like to use in this case is in the original Civilization, right? In Civ 1, and actually for like the first few versions of Civ, there was some by design cheating going on the part of the computer. So in the old versions of Civ, you could build caravans, right? And you could send a caravan out between cities, and they could establish trade routes. Or they could, the caravan could essentially be a package of production, right? And so you could send them to another city, and then use the caravan's production to bolster whatever production they were working on in that city. Now, as a player, you had to get your caravan from point A to point B, and when you went out there, if an enemy captured your caravan, well, it's theirs now, right? All they have to do is tap it, and it's theirs. But if you played the game, you knew that you could see that the computer was establishing caravan routes and stuff, but you never found any computer-controlled caravan units that you could capture. Well, that's because, like I said, the ability of the computer was limited at that time. They couldn't run all these fancy AI models, so what they did is they programmed sanctioned cheating. And when the computer finished a caravan, it would choose what city it was going to send it, and then it instantly went there. It was never out in the wild, so you, as a human, never had the opportunity to capture it. That it just wasn't there, right? That would be a huge advantage for me if I had it, but nope, the computer had it and I didn't. And again, I totally understand how and why they did that, but it was kind of like a mini scandal when that came out, because people were pretty annoyed, right? I mean, saying, hey, that's not fair. Yeah, but, you know, considering the computers at the time, they were trying to do the best they could with what they had. So now, speaking of Civ, you know, Civ 7 just came out, and well, I mean, obviously I didn't buy it. I have all the Civs up to 6. I didn't play 6 much because I've kind of, you know, 4X, you know, which was explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. that used to be my go-to genre for a long time. Really enjoyed that, and I just have kind of moved away from it because I'm more into the actual building, right? I mean, that is a type of building, but I've also kind of moved away from competition, right? So games where it's me versus another guy or a team of guys or whatever, I mean, I still play them every once in a while, but for the most part, I just don't enjoy the competition anymore. I mean, 30 years in the corporate environment, and where you really need to toot your own horn and compete against your coworkers because there's a limited number of positions and resources and stuff, and I don't like working that way. And after doing it for so long, I you know, it's not fun. And so when it comes to the stuff I do for fun, I really don't like having that element in it anymore, which is why I like games like this, because I'm not competing with anybody. You do you, I do me. I can celebrate what you're doing, and it doesn't take anything away from me. I can show you what I'm doing. It doesn't take anything away from you. Right? Kind of like kumbaya. So that's why I do that. But anyhow, I've been watching the reviews of Civ 7. And I don't think I would have been buying it anyway, right? I think, I don't know if I talked about it here, but if you're into games, and if you've been paying attention to like the game news feeds, I think it's pretty clear that most of them are reporting on a trend in computer gaming where the computer game companies have, there's been a lot of consolidation. I mean, especially after COVID, where people were home playing games, and so there was a lot of money in games, and then there was a lot more money brought into games, and game companies were spinning up left and right, and then there was a lot of consolidation. And games have been big business for a long time, but you know, when you have something like that, I mean, games are a creative industry, right? There is a lot of innovation and creativity that goes into them, and that's part of what drags us kicking and streaming with our fistful of money to buy the games, because you know that there's some cool stuff happening typically. But when you have a big industry, you know, that starts attracting big suits, right? You have game companies that are innovative, and they're helmed by people who were once engineers and designers, and eventually when the industry gets really big, you bring in suits from all walks of corporate world, you know, and these guys, they don't know squat about games. They don't enjoy games. They're not game players. They don't understand game players, but they do know business. And so they've been brought in to basically now optimize the game company, the business model, for profit, for shareholders. And that's how business works, right? But you know, for us as game players, we're still looking for the innovation. We're still looking for the cool factor. We're still looking for all these things. And these guys kind of bleed that out of what we love. So what I'm doing here is I got the bits, enough bits, to make my aquatic entangler to do my automated fishing for me. So and that's pretty much all I have at the moment. So we'll let the iron cook, and we'll set up some stuff, and then we'll go ahead and set up the aquatic entangler. So so my fish sandwiches are on the way. And you know, for the fish sandwiches, the piece I'm missing, I mean, carrots aren't hard to find. And bread is, I've got everything I need to make bread, so that's cool. And then there would be the fish, but the piece I'm missing is cabbage. And because of the way this world generates, I'm going to have to find a sandy beach someplace, because that's usually where you find those wild cabbage plants that will give me the cabbage I need. So I have a vague idea where I can go and get those. When I'm up on some of the higher points around my base, I take a gander at the horizon, and I do remember seeing some palm tree silhouettes. Now, the palm trees grow in the beach biome, so there's got to be beach biome nearby. And if that's in fact the case, there may be cabbage seeds there. And go grab them. So I got my glass, and I'm missing planks, I think. That should be it, right? Yep. Aquatic Detangler. Automatic fish catcher thingy. Anyway, so back to Civ 7, and I think what happened there is, folks at Civ are now helmed by career corporate dudes, and I think that their fingerprints are all over the design, because they've taken elements of Civ that had been refined over the course of several versions, and they kind of hosed them up, right? I mean, and it's not just my words. I mean, go look at the reviews. I don't think I've seen a 100% positive review of Civ. I mean, truth is, you never really see 100% positive, but I don't even think the best reviews, the most positive reviews of Civ I've seen are kind of like, half and half, right? They're like, yeah, this I kind of like, and these I don't like, right? And then there's plenty of reviews that are like, what were you guys thinking? And that seems to be a recurring theme, right? There's a lot of beloved franchises out there. And, beloved franchises go through iterations, and they take the stuff that people love and they kind of tweak it to make it better. They refine it, right? There's people who sit there and say, well, the innovation is not happening. Yeah, I get that. On an artistic level, right? You want to grow as an artist by doing new stuff. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to make... I mean, I know I can't make other machines, but... whoa, and this is going to require considerably more sophistication on the Crete side than I'm ready for. We'll get there. Anyway, so on an artistic side, well, this is kind of the classic thing about music. I used to get in arguments with my friends about this because, for example, there's a band out there called Boston, and back in my day, they were pretty darn popular. Classic rock band. Now, they've only come out with 4 albums over the course of their career, and the 4th one came out like a couple decades after the first 3, and yet it still sounds 80 or 90% like the first 3. And the first 3 are all, as far as their sound goes, they're indistinguishable, right? But, so some of my friends who are big-time music aficionados, they say, well, all their music sounds the same. Yeah, I get that. And from an artistic standpoint, if you're looking for that variety, for that innovation, yeah, that sucks. But if you just like their music, if their songs come on and you turn it up, the fact that I have 3 albums of that stuff, or 4 now, that get me to do that. Well, ultimately, that's what I'm after, right? And I guess to a certain extent, that's what we're after in games. So while I'm both decrying the lack of innovation, but also evangelizing a refinement, which is kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a delicate balance. It's a trick, right? You got to have a knack to it, and I think that the folks running the big game companies at the moment don't have that knack. And I think it'd be a lot. See, I already got a blowfish, but it's a lot easier to have that knack, to have that understanding if you approach it from a point of common reference. I mean, if you are a game player, if you've been playing games and engineering games for years and years and years, you understand it, you get it, right? If you were working at Procter & Gamble, making soap and toothpaste, and now you're over here in the game space, you might get it. I'll give you that benefit of the doubt, but my guess is you probably don't. I mean, the way you market toothpaste hasn't changed much in 100 years. I mean, they started adding fluoride in the 50s and 60s, and that was a big deal. But after that, it hasn't really changed much. I mean, they tried to add whiteners and gel and this, but in the end, toothpaste has a pretty specific use, and everybody's pretty much settled on their own particular brand. And if you're a young executive trying to cut your teeth and prove to the world just what a hot commodity you are, selling toothpaste or mouthwash probably isn't the opportunity you're looking for. Not the droid you're looking for. But games, games is kind of like the Wild West. But when you come from, whether you're selling toothpaste or diapers or financial services, those things are very ungames-like. Your target market, what attracts people, very different than those other products. And you may understand those other products. You may understand the appeal and how to market to those groups. But I'm willing to bet, well, and I've seen the proof, you don't understand game players. So, and I think you're seeing that, because I think the easy money in the game industry has dried up. And a lot of companies are taking a beating. There's also the notion, too, that corporate anything, but corporate America especially, has this notion that constant and eternal growth is both possible and a good thing. And in realistic terms, you can't have endless growth, right? You just can't, right? If you make washing machines, well, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Best case scenario, you sell 8 billion washing machines. But the thing is most people don't have access to electricity or water for washing machines. But even if it's 1 billion people, okay, that's a lot of washing machines. But once you sell 1 billion washing machines, you got to wait for them to break. or get whatever to the point that people need a new washing machine, right? You just can't grow your washing machine numbers forever. And of course, it's even more complicated because you have multiple people making washing machines, so you're competing against them. So not only is there a limited number of customers, but each of the companies already has a segment. And when somebody does need a new washing machine, you're competing against those guys to try to get that new customer. But, I guess I'm saying this, don't invest in a washing machine company. But, those people always need washing machines. They just don't need a lot of them. And there's the fallacy of business, right? Where they're going to tell you, always grow, always grow. Early in my adult career, this is a grandpa moment, I guess, but early in my adult career, I worked retail at the mall. And, you know, we were paid, given bonuses or commissions, and in fact got to keep your job based on the performance of the store. But the performance of the store wasn't just like, are you profitable, right? I mean, from a business point of view, as a small business owner myself now, am I profitable? That's all I really care about. I mean, I want to be profitable. But, you know, I was working in a mall, and we were working for a big software company. It was Software Etc. at the time, a division of B. Dalton Books. But it wasn't a matter of being profitable. It was about being more profitable, right? So and they always had these aggressive sales figures or goals, right? So that what they're saying is, last year you did X amount of dollars. So your goal this year is you do X plus 10%. Wow, that's quite a jump. And sometimes we were able to achieve X plus 10%. But guess what? Then the goal for the next year is X plus 10% again. Well, okay, and maybe we can make that goal. But you see, each time you do that, it's harder and harder to keep making X plus 10%. And eventually you get to the point where you can't make X 10%. I mean, you know, we were selling software and books, and yeah, people would need more software and more books, but not. Uh-oh, that's not good. Okay, dead giveaway. So I know where he is. If I just don't show my face over that wall, I don't think he'll come after me, because I don't have any armor, right? I have 0 armor, and I don't have much in terms of weapons either. Okay, so there he is, and well, this is just it. I've expanded the island a bit. We're in much better shape than we were before. And I don't want to tangle with this Joker just yet. So, this is where we are now. And I had a lot of fun today. Thank you for letting me ramble while I'm building. And I hope you come back for the next episode. But until that happens, I hope this finds you and yours in good health, good spirits, and perhaps a touch of good fortune. Cheers.